Hey, what is up, watch friends? Welcome to another episode of Talking Time Pieces with Tony. I'm Tony. I appreciate everyone who likes, subscribes, watches my videos, comments, interacts. It makes me feel happy. I don't do this for money or monetary or anything like that. I just like to hang out and talk about watches. So today's episode is basically we do the Ask the Magic Watch Ball. This is the Magic Watch Ball. She is 79% accurate 60% of the time. We do this on Fridays. It's kind of a lighthearted way to, with all the serious people out there talking about watches and thinking they have a crystal ball and what's coming up next. We just do it. This is a magic watch ball. It's better than a crystal ball because this ball can be a pain in the ass. She's a smart ass and she can be rude. So not always, just depends on what time of So anyway, we have a long video today, I'm pretty sure, because I have a lot of questions today to get through. So, I am wearing my Nomos Club Campus Coral 38.5 millimeter. I'm going to have to do another video on this because Nomos are just so underrated for what they are, really. So anyway, let's roll the intro and we'll start with the questions. All right. Okay, here's how it works. Sometimes the questions are for me and sometimes they're for the ball. When they're for the ball, then I will also throw in my 2 cents worth. So, and these questions I haven't read them, you know what I mean? I just go, here's a question for the ball. I go, great, click, I copy it and then I print it and I don't read it until right now. So, and maybe if I think one's more important than the other, I'll put that one first or last or whatever. So, having said that, this one comes from Metagirl. That's my little sister, by the way, if in case any of you haven't figured that out. And she says, hey, Tony, what were your cons with the Breitling? That was my top time, Breitling. I got rid of it. I bought it, and I took a serious beating on it when I got rid of it. But for some reason, I just didn't want it anymore. I didn't like it. I loved it when I first saw it. It had this beautiful ice blue dial, and I thought, wow, this is absolutely stunning, absolutely amazing. And I did videos on it. You guys know I was just like, oh, this is so beautiful. But I don't know. I couldn't wear it. I was like trying to find new straps for it. The OEM strap was uncomfortable. The way the deployment buckle was wrapping around my wrist. And then I put other straps on it that, even though they kind of looked cool, it was like, it's not working. And then all of a sudden I just got angry at the watch and decided I just didn't want it anymore. Great watch, but I don't, especially for the price point, I didn't see it for what it cost me and what that watch is worth. I don't know. I just didn't see the value as much. So I just got rid of it, and I don't regret it. I regret spending the money on it and losing like over $2,000 easily. Yeah. Anyway, it's what it is. So thanks for your question. Next question. Let's look. This one comes from Al Preciado. Al, right on, dude. I'm glad that you're asking questions. So you partially answered a question I was going to ask, i.e., you have your watches in a watch box or in watch boxes. My other question is, how big is your watch collection, and do you store your watch boxes in a safe? I like that you have a rotation box for what watches are in your regular rotation, and other boxes for more infrequently worn. You are one of the few YouTubers I consistently watch. Keep up the good work. Thanks, Al. I appreciate everything you do, everything you've done in the past, even with your wife. I don't, so for people who are viewing, I don't know Al, but he's a viewer, but we interact a little more than, some of you guys, in a sense, So Al, that's again not a watch ball question. I have watch boxes over there. You can see 1, 2, and then I think I have 3, 4, 5, 6. and then some. I've got. I don't know how many watches I have. I haven't counted. But I have about 7 or 8 watch boxes. Actually, probably more than that. And do I keep them in a safe? Yeah, that's what I do. Yeah, I keep them in a safe or the bank. And so as far as the watches that are in my rotation, I have some watches that are just don't ever leave the rotation box. There's only 6 in that box. And then some watches, they get stored in another box. Some watches I just don't wear anymore. And it doesn't mean like, because you don't see them on my channel, that I don't have them or I just don't wear them. And I'm not, it's just the way it is, you know what I mean? I don't feel the need to, I just don't want to wear watches I don't want to wear. And it doesn't mean I'm never going to wear them again, because sometimes I go, oh, I'm going to wear that watch, and I do, so I hope that answered your question. Thanks, Al. Always appreciate it. Alfie, aka Ronald Dog, always a consistent YouTube viewer and question asker of the questions. I have a question. TV opening titles in order: $6 Million Man, Chips, Battlestar Galactica, or Magnum? Dude, I don't know. I can tell you that my dad worked on all those shows except for Magnum, consistently. $6 Million Man, what about the Fall Guy, dude? Remember that? Chips, probably. I just bumped into Eric Estrada a couple weeks ago at the grocery store. Talked to him. He knew my dad because my dad worked with him, so we were talking. Battlestar Galactica, I don't remember the theme song for that. But the question is, would you agree that apart from Breitling, you generally get what you pay for at list with watches, and that discount on applicable brands is key to value? Yeah, I don't know if I would say apart from Breitling. Breitling makes some pretty good watches, man. I just again, going back to Breitling, I guess I'm not a huge Breitling fan. I like the Super Ocean, but I don't know if I would take a chance on spending, $6,000-$7,000 on a watch that I might just have the same issue I had with Breitling, because that Top Time was my first ever Breitling. I don't think I've ever owned another Breitling prior to that. So, yeah, I mean, if you get a discount, you know what I mean, then absolutely, some discounts are bigger than others, but some watches, like I go, I don't want to pay that much for it, you know what I mean? If it's a Seamaster, for instance, you know what I mean? It's like, no, I don't want to pay full retail for that watch, give me a discount. I don't say that, I'm like, give me a discount, biznitch. I don't know, dude, there's some watches that are incredibly overpriced out there. This is from but I always appreciate your comments, dude. Goodman, 2009, John. Tony, I think it's 100% spot on. I don't know what that is. That was probably one of my previous videos. Hey, also, do you think there is a side benefit of buying a CPO watch to establish a relationship with ADs in order to get a new watch in the future? Given that you've already proven to Rolex you are willing to pay a market premium to get their second hand one. In other words, the VVVIP, or the VIP, in living color, who gets a brand new Daytona will be a person who spent on CPO watches excessively rather than on other brand or jewelry. Again, it's a question for me, not the watch ball. The watch ball can answer if you want. Well, she's like, no, she's like, pass, you go ahead. I think it doesn't matter too much. I think if you buy the CPO program, yeah, you're definitely, it's just the same thing as buying you're spending money at the store, at the AD, you know what I mean? Whether it's a necklace or whether it's a Rolex. You're not proving anything to Rolex. You're proving to the AD, you know what I mean? Rolex don't know who you are. Rolex don't care, you know what I mean? So what you're doing is you're establishing a relationship with the AD to get, if you are looking for other future watches. So whether you spent $10,000 on a watch or $100,000 on jewelry, I think your chances, the fact is that you're spending money, and that's all they really care about. You know what I mean? So I think if a guy's gonna get a Daytona, is he got a better chance if he bought a bunch of CPO watches first, other than buying a bunch of jewelry? Maybe. I mean, if he's bought a few Rolex, it shows that they're and again, it's all up to the AD, but if he's buying watches, if you're buying watches and they're Rolex, and they see that you're a Rolex fan and you're wearing them when you go in there, and you know, and you have a great conversation with them, and you have a great relationship with them, then you'll get your watches regardless. It's just all about spending money, dude. You know what I mean? It comes down to the dough, the cash, money, green, cheddar, you know. Anyway, thanks for your question, man. Sorry, I wish I could have given you a better answer. I don't know. Question for the watch ball. Now it's your time to shine, watch ball. I hope you're in a good mood. I got a call today from a friend. He just saw a sign for a new jewelry store, second location, opening soon near me. Big sign in front, Rolex. The other location is an AD of Rolex. I've been there too. I've been there to have my sub sized and to look around. My question is, if I go in there on opening day, does the watch ball think my odds of me getting a Rolex on my list increase? We both know Daytona or any other high demand model is still not possible, or is it? And I have no spending history with the first store, but I'll be wearing my sub. Watch ball, did you catch that? Okay. I don't think it matters if you go into a brand new AD. They'll probably take your name for whatever watch you're asking for, and they'll be pleasant to you because it's a new store and they are looking for business. Rolex aren't in the business of just kicking people out of their stores, or nor are the ADs. As far as a Daytona or another high demand, such as a Batman, Batgirl, Pepsi, Starbucks, whatever you want to call it, your chances are pretty slim at first. You're still going to have to establish a relationship with them just like any other AD. Hope you got that, man. So yeah, you know what I mean? It just depends, again, on the AD and the sales rep and who you're dealing with. They're gonna, if it's a new store and it's opening up and you go in there and you just go in there right away and you're wearing your sub and you're enthusiastic and you want to talk about, you know, getting another watch, then I stand a chance. I would imagine, since they're a new store, you know, they're not, you know, they're probably be happy to see you. You know what I mean? But start off good. Start off with a good conversation and see how it goes, but I wish you the best of luck, all right? Hey, Tony, you've been buying watches for decades now, but why all the recent interest in Rolex? This comes from, Mojal, Mojaal. And I'm sorry, the last question, I don't know if I said who it was from. It was from Doug. All right, thanks, Doug. Mohal? You've been buying watches for decades now, but why all the recent interest in Rolex? I've been at it for almost 15 years and remember the days when anyone could walk into the Rolex ADs and walk out with anything they wanted except for the steel Daytonas. I think those days are coming back when the new Rolex factory gets built and becomes fully operational in about 5 to 10 years. Dude, 5 to 10 years, yeah, you have no idea what's going to be happening in 5 to 10 years, right? It's a long way away, dude. And dude, I remember going in and buying a Datejust also with, and I got a discount on it, and that was 2018 even. I mean, that's not my first Rolex, but it was going into Bindy's when I first, you know, bought my first AD purchase of a Rolex 36 millimeter Datejust, and yeah, I got a discount on it. And you could buy anything just about, you know, I mean, I wasn't looking at everything that was there, but I did remember seeing that there was, I think there was GMTs, GMT Masters. I don't know, Air Kings and Sky Dwellers and all that stuff. Tons of OPs, tons of Datejusts. But either way, yeah. And as far as why all the recent interest in Rolex, I don't know if you're asking me if I'm all of a sudden have a recent interest in Rolex, because I've been into Rolex watches for, you know, over 30 years, so it's not anything recent for me. Probably as far as if you're asking why all the interest in Rolex overall in general, it's hype, man. You know, when we had the shutdown, the COVID thing or whatever, and the crypto millionaires and whatever, it became difficult. I don't know how it all kind of started, but the watches became worth more, you know, or on the secondary, and it just kind of went from there. You know what I mean? They were hard to get because everyone shut down, right? So if you could get one, all of a sudden people wanted them and you couldn't get them, and then all of a sudden the secondary market, and then it just became this whole hype thing. And it's still that way. It's just that yeah, it's hype, man. You know what I mean? If you're an OG Rolex fan like me, then you don't care about the hype. You know what I mean? You buy what you love, and simple as that. I mean, because that's what I still do. All right, man. Thank you for your question. DVILCOR. Anyway. Question for the watch ball. Is the Tudor GMT a poor man's version of the Rolex Pepsi? Obviously not referring to the difference in price, but rather that when you see it on the wrist, do you think that watch enthusiast settled for a Tudor because of the impossible Rolex waitlist for the Pepsi? Did you get that? Is the Tudor GMT a poor man's Rolex? Not at all. They're related, yes, but not a poor man's Rolex. There's more to it. That's it. After missing in action for a couple of weeks, you sure don't have a lot to say. All right, man. Depends how you approach it, man. If again, what does it matter what anyone thinks, right? But at the same time, if you say you were at a barbecue or something and someone was like, oh, what is that? Or say they didn't know it's a GMT, and you go, oh, what kind of watch is that? And you go, well, it's a Tudor. And if you start to go into the story of, well, they're related to Rolex and Hans Wilsdorfer started Rolex, you're going to lose them in a second. And then they're going to think, oh, yeah, you couldn't afford a real Rolex, so you bought that, right? Better off just not saying anything. If someone knows what it is, like they say, oh, that dude's wearing a Tudor GMT, then no, not at all. And at the same time, the cool thing about Tudor is, I mean, in a certain aspect, yes, it could be that it's a, you could look at it like it's a poor man's Rolex. You know what I mean? You kind of have that shadow that oh, I get it. You couldn't, I see what you're saying. You couldn't afford the real deal, so you settled for this. And I see that, you know what I mean? But it's all, on perspective on how you look at it. If you're settling for it, you'll never settle, right? If you say, well, I'm going to buy this until I can get the real thing, then that watch isn't going to suffice until you get the real thing. But if you say, hey, I'm buying that for the reason why you want to buy it because you love the watch, then, again, really who cares what anyone thinks, right? You wear it, you love it. Fucking who cares what people think, right? It's like why I like the Tudor Black Bay 58, man. It was like, I mean, that's what got me really liking the sub, before I got the Submariner. It was like, really, the cool thing about Tudor is they focus more on sort of what it was like if it's a vintage Rolex, you know what I mean? Like the Black Bay 58 is more of like a vintage Rolex. It's like wearing a new vintage watch, you know what I mean? I've said this before. So they've got, so they tend to follow more of what the vintage of what Rolex was doing as opposed to, well, some of their new watches are trying to, become Datejust and things like that, but essentially, what you're asking me is basically, yeah, I mean, you're just, it's got nothing to do with price or anything like that, man. It's all how you wear it and what you wear. And if someone does ask you about it, just go Tudor. You know anything about it? Or don't even have to ask them a question. If they know, they know. You know what I mean? And if it was someone like me that sees someone wearing a Tudor, I'm going to think that he's probably a watch collector and probably has some sick Rolex in his collection. A couple of Pateks, Cartier, Breitlings, not Breitlings, Breguets, things like that. So it's all good. But I thank you for your question, man. Last question. Hello, Tony. This is from Septimiu Mokanu. Septimiu, is that it? Mokanu. Hello, Tony. Today, it's Friday, so I got a question for you. I just bought my first Rolex from an AD in London. Congratulations, bro. Rolex Datejust 41 millimeter in silver, oyster bracelet with a smooth bezel. Same as yours, yeah. I did buy that watch. I think you should have about 6 months since you made the purchase. Me, no, it's been way more than that. It was about a year, maybe a year and a half. Probably a year and a half, because I've had this channel for a year now. My previous channel, I did a review on it. That was over a year ago. So it was a while ago. You don't talk often about your Datejust. Well, I have a few, it's not the only one, you know what I mean? Can you describe what thoughts you have about your Datejust so far? Thanks. Yeah, man. Datejust is my favorite Rolex. That's it. Flat, done, deal. I will take, if it came down to it, my choice of having to pick one for the rest of my life, either a Datejust or a Daytona, I'll take a Datejust. I don't care. The Daytona is a hype watch, man. People go, I want the Daytona, man, because dude, the reason why most people want a Daytona is because it's a hype watch and it's the most sought after out of all of them. Same goes with the Pepsi or the GMT Master 2s. Sorry, my kitty cat just wants me to give her attention. Datejust is it. But having said that, don't like the silver one. I did buy it, and that was one of my, again, it's a while ago when I bought that. When I got it, I'd actually asked Juan to get me the OP silver dial, and instead he got me the Datejust, and I was like, yeah, I'll take it, cool, and I bought it, and then realized, see, for instance, the OP has a silver dial, but it has gold hands, you know what I mean? So the way that it blends is really nice and it's legible. The silver on silver with the white hands and the silver dial, it was really not legible for me. So I was struggling to see what time it was. So I was having a hard time with it. So I wouldn't use that as a reference point for me as far as the Datejust goes. There's so many other Datejusts that just are so much cooler than that one. That's probably about my least favorite out of all of them. Apart from that one and the black dial, I have a black dial. But either way. So having said that, it's a great watch though, and if you can see it and it's legible for you, then that's all that should matter. You know what I mean? As long as it works for you, man. And again, I love the Datejust. I think they've the OP and the Datejust are what established Rolexes to what they are today. Not the Daytona. The Daytona was a watch nobody wanted at all when they first came out. In fact, they used to give Daytonas away. If you buy a fucking OP or a Datejust or whatever before the Datejust, we'll give you a Daytona. All right. Having said that, I always appreciate your guys' questions. Hope you continue to like and subscribe and all that stuff. So we'll talk to you soon. Thanks. Peace out.